Hello, I'm Maria Ressa with Raptors Managing Editor Glenda Gloria. Welcome to a special Talk Thursday. With us now is former Marine Colonel Ariel Querubin. For the first time, he talks about a pyramid-like scheme alleged pork barrel queen Janet Napoles offered his wife. Mrs. Querubin died 19 years ago. But a day before her death, Ariel Querubin spoke to Janet Napoles to ask her to return his wife's investment. He joins us today to talk about his past dealings with Janet Napoles, what he knows about her, and about the memoir he's currently finishing. Let me toss it first to Glenda. Glenda, you called Colonel Querubin. I mean, what happened? How did you know what was happening, and what did you want to do?
Well, Maria, as you know, we've been researching on Napoles, and it just struck me, one article mentioned that indeed Colonel Querubin told one reporter that he knew Janet Napoles. And that just instinct told me, we've known each other for more than 10 years. Colonel Querubin and I covered him when he was still a coup plotter. And so I gave him I sent him a text message and wondering if he could talk, and he gave me a call right away. And he started telling the story, and I could not actually I kept on writing down notes, and at some point I told him, can you just stop, because I cannot absorb this already. It was just too much. It was a very sad story, and I didn't know this aspect of Colonel Querubin's life. And so I asked him all the questions, and it was a free-flowing interview. It's as if a dam broke and he just suddenly found a listener to tell the whole thing.
And what did you feel while you were listening to him?
We'd known for quite some time now that Mrs. Napoles started her trade in the military, and more particularly, he dealt with the Philippine Marines as early as the early 1990s. So I knew that for a fact. I knew that she was a military supplier, that she was a military she was a civilian dealing with the military on certain supplies. But I didn't know that personal aspect involving Colonel Querubin, and so it was a sad story that I knew simply had to be written.
Colonel Querubin, why did you decide to speak about this very personal matter to Glenda?
Actually, I granted an interview with a network, and then when they aired it on TV, I think Glenda watched the TV, and she called me up to ask some questions, and I told her my story.
And was this the first time you told this story? Why did you decide to tell her all of it?
Yeah. When Jenny Napoles started flaunting her riches, claiming that she was rich from the very start. So I'm doing my memoir, and then a portion of that book is dedicated for the death of my first wife.
Yes.
And the initial draft, I didn't mention names. Only not detailed circumstances, but circumstances that I knew of, because not all of them were really told to me. So I said, well, I think it's a disservice to the country if I'll not inform or share what I know about these people, about this couple, because I have an experience, and I don't want to keep it myself.
So what exactly do you know about Jenny Napoles and her husband?
Oh, well, Jimmy, Major Napoles, is a colleague of mine.
Yes.
He joined, initially he was commissioned by the Philippine Constabulary, and then called to active duty in the Philippine Marines. He is a reserve officer.
Okay.
While in the Marines, the Marines is very small, so we really didn't go into one unit. We never were assigned in one unit, but we were together in one military exercise, and that was 1989. We call it military exercise.
Yes.
Yeah.
One military exercise, the
the coup plot, the coup attempt. Yes.
So we were both wounded.
December. Yes.
Yes, he was wounded when the landing vehicle truck that burned in Gate 1 of Camp Aguinaldo
Yes.
was, I think, it was hit by a mine or by, so he was there. He got burned, and then I was injured in White Plains.
Okay.
And then we both saw each other in Viluna, in the AFP Medical Center. So while there, when I decided to escape, I even asked him if he can go with me, and
Yes.
he said he cannot because, according to him, he'll just be a burden. So the next time we saw each other was when I was released. After I was released on the eve of Christmas of December 1992. So we're talking now of probably we saw each other again. We reconnected around first quarter of 1993.
Napoles wasn't jailed.
That I do not know, really. I do not know.
Okay. Because some of the insinuation, well, some of the circumstances around it also seemed to show some influence. You went to prison for this. He did not.
Yeah. I really don't. I lost track, and because he wasn't really a full-blooded Reform the Armed Forces Movement member.
Correct.
So I really didn't mind.
Okay. And then his wife. So after you saw each other again.
So yeah, after I was released, we had some reunions, and then the families got together, and I really don't know from the very start how she was able to convince my wife and their friend, a doctor also, to lend her money. Yeah, she was at that time a struggling supplier. That's why I said, if she was rich then, why will she go around convince people to give her money for that contract?
Yes.
At that time, there was a contract, a shipyard, and then there was one, they'll be procuring radio sets
Yes.
for the ships.
What made you decide to say this now? I mean, as you said, when you were writing it, you kept her name out. Then her name popped out in the headlines. But why talk about all of this now? I mean, what role did she play in your wife's illness?
Well, yes. Because they said that they were rich at that time, so I just want to debunk. I just want to inform the people that they weren't really that rich, because when they were collecting the money that was given to her, the interest, the checks went. They were not. They didn't have funds for it.
It bounced. The checks were bouncing.
The other checks bounced.
Yes.
And then until they asked my wife, and she asked my wife and the doctor friend to call her first before encashing the check. And then some of the checks really were returned to her for cash. And until finally, she wasn't appearing. I mean, she couldn't be found.
Yes.
They were hard. They were hard up looking for her.
She was hiding from your wife and her doctor friend.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then what happened the day before?
The day before,
Your wife died.
The day before, they went to an office of her associate in Pasay Road, Makati, and then it was in that office where she fainted, and then I later found out from the doctor friend that she even urinated. So he passed out because it was only through the interview that I learned there was a heated argument inside the office. All I knew of was that we had a conversation.
Yes.
Lori called me up. Then she told me, "You talked to her. Jenny just arrived." So I talked to her. I said, "This is hard-earned money. Yeah, Jenny, pakisoli mo na kasi ano to, pinaghirapan ni doktora to at hindi naman pera niya lahat, hindi namin pera na lahat yan. No? Pera ng sister-in-law niya at kapatid. No? This is hard-earned money. And then she started, in a hysterical manner, she answered, Ariel, huwag mo ko sigawan. So my wife got the phone and then she told me, ba't mo kailangan sigawan? And I said, no, I didn't shout at her. Then she left the office until, she passed out already.
Your wife.
Yeah.
Glenda, how did you feel when Colonel Querubin was telling you the story?
Well, I think, as I said, it was a very sad story. But on the other hand, I suppose as a journalist, you want to know more. And his story really reinforced a lot of things about Mrs. Napoles. For one, that the events that happened in the 1990s somewhat debunk her claim that she's been wealthy from that time,
Yes.
20 years ago. To this day, she has not shown any proof of that wealth. I would very much like to see the 650 hectares in Jakarta that she co-owns with apparently an Indonesian. But and I suppose it's not just personal, Maria. It's not like Napoles being a private person, because from the time that she was charged in court in connection with the Kevlar helmet involving the Philippine Marines, she was charged in court, but then again she was under the radar because eventually she was acquitted, and after that she got involved in the fertilizer scam. She was subpoenaed by the Senate. So it's not as if we're talking about a very private individual.
Yes.
She's had dealings with government.
Yes.
She's earned from our taxes, and so inevitably she's a public interest issue. And so, but of course, Colonel Querubin's story precisely reinforces it. It's not just the drama of it,
Yes.
but precisely the facts surrounding the Napoles wealth during that time.
Colonel Querubin, Glenda wrote in her story that during the wake of your wife, Jenny came
Yes.
to you with
she came with the associate, and then with a priest and a choir, and then the associate, the friend, returned the money in dollars.
How did you feel?
Well, at that time because she was apologizing for what happened, so I said, no, there's nothing to apologize. It's God's will. I mean, we all die. I mean, it's her time. So
You were very charitable.
no, well, I think I'm a Christian. Yes.
Some of it seems to hint, though, that stress may have contributed to your wife's condition. Is this
Yeah.
correct?
Yes. Only then, only when I read the interview of that doctor friend, that I found out the circumstances leading to that tragic death was really very stressful. From the time they were collecting money in Binyan, Laguna, where they used to live, and then they were bitten by mosquitoes. My baby was crying. When I was just reading it, I really had goosebumps. I wanted to, had I known earlier that those happened, then I would have differently reacted when I saw her.
So let me pull out just a little bit now, given what's going on. How would you describe the character of Janet Napoles?
Oh, well, I'll quote it from the doctor friend of my wife, that she has the three C's: the capacity, the capability, and the character to do it.
To do the pork barrel scam.
Yes.
Glenda, you've been working on this story this whole time. Do you agree with Colonel Querubin?
Yes, she has. I think, as we said also in another story, and I'm sure Colonel Querubin is familiar with conversion in the armed forces.
Could you,
It's always-
for our viewers who don't know what conversion
Yeah.
is,
It's always, it's
Go ahead.
long time problem in the organization, and we believe that Ms. Napoles in fact learned the tricks of the trade in the military. Conversion was resorted to by the military in as early as the 1970s because it was very difficult managing the bureaucracy, getting funds, and following the bureaucratic processes. When you're out there in the battlefield, you want to feed your men, put up huts, because you're outside the camp, you need instant cash. So conversion was invented for noble purposes, to save, to make sure that the men are alive and they get their equipment whenever they needed it. So then the military commanders would deal with suppliers who would provide them instant cash. In exchange for that, the commander would give a list of fake receipts, for example, accepting what is acceptable in budgetary processes, like maybe coupon band or.
Yeah, I'd like to reinforce
Yes.
what
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
please.
is saying. It's true. When you're given funds, normally it's not cash or it's a paper. The object class would be for office supplies. So how can you use the office supplies or the bond paper if you have a flat tire, if you buy Nipa hats, so what you do is to convert that into cash. And
That's why it's
normally,
called conversion, yeah.
and normally suppliers really are profiting from this. They either get 20% from the conversion, the more conservative ones get 16%, but just the same, that's pretty much.
Yes, yes. Essentially, what you're describing is, and this is something you wrote about in your book, it's institutionalized corruption.
Yes, yes.
Is it still happening today?
Now they have effected reforms. And now they give the funds direct to the units in the front line.
In cash? In cash now?
No, they
Not
have
yet.
a disbursing officer.
A disbursing, okay,
yes,
okay.
who accounts for all.
Glenda, let me ask you again, you wrote a book with Gemma Mendoza and Aris Rufo. What's the title of this book again?
Enemy Within.
An Enemy Within. And then what exactly are the findings that you had from that book?
Again, that the conversion was abused massively in the armed forces, so that it led to corruption, massive corruption in the organization. And the reason that came out was the arrest of General Carlos Garcia. And you must remember that the reason he was arrested was because of his sons. His sons were caught in the United States for smuggling dollars. So how do you do lifestyle checks like that? I mean, this is a very Napoles-like narrative.
Yes.
The two sons were arrested, and that alerted U.S. Customs, and U.S. Customs coordinated with the Philippine military. That led to the investigation into Garcia's unexplained wealth, and he was charged with plunder. Of course, we know the story that he entered into a plea bargaining agreement. But that also resulted in reforms in the armed forces. It led to the abolition of the controllership division, which is really in charge of Colonel Querubin, diba, parang disbursing money.
Before, funds really were mostly, bulk of it were retained in the headquarters.
Yes.
So all the commanders will have to go there to ask for funds. So in the headquarters alone, they're the ones doing the conversion. So
centralized,
yes,
kind of.
centralized,
Yeah, and that's where a lot of it was siphoned off.
Yes,
also.
yes.
So knowing what you know from the military conversion, and now with what the pork barrel scam, with this scandal that's out, what lessons learned have been translated to legislature, to the pork?
the corruption in the armed forces went up. And that's the lesson there. It didn't stop. In fact, it was brought by allegedly, it was brought by Mrs. Napoles to Congress.
And what's the modus operandi? How does it work?
That I do not know.
Okay.
Yeah, that
But
I do not
in the
know.
military conversion, again, you said that they would provide, the supplier would provide cash in exchange for a commission.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And then
the fake receipts and everything. Yes.
and the person who gives that contract to the supplier also gets a kickback.
Yeah. If he's corrupt, but because there are so many commanders actually who doesn't.
Yes. Who aren't,
pocket.
yes.
Yeah.
But the ones who were caught.
Yeah. They don't really pocket their commission from that.
Yes.
Yes.
But in terms of the high-ranking corruption that General Garcia, that case uncovered, essentially, when the contract is awarded, the person gets a kickback from
Yes.
it. That's the way it
Yeah.
works. Is that similar to the way this pork barrel scam is looking?
There was also a problem in the military about the fake companies, right, Colonel?
Yeah.
Dummy companies.
Dummy companies.
Yes, they join a supposed bidding, but it's been rigged from
Yeah.
day one, and that, at least in one case, in the delivery of the Kevlar
Kevlar.
helmets to the Philippine Marines, Mrs. Napoles and a lot of Marine officers were accused of using dummy companies. And if you remember, Maria, she in fact formed companies and appointed her,
Her
mother,
family,
the
yeah.
late mother, and her brother, Reynaldo Lim, who is now the subject of an arrest warrant, and who many people forget was convicted. He is in fact covered by a 1-year probation just issued last January by the Sandigan Bayan, and technically he's under a hold departure order list, but he's not.
He's been able to travel freely, including
That's
to the
what
United
we're
States.
learning. Yes, that's what we found out.
Colonel, how did she move on to the legislators? How did Mrs. Napoles, from what you know?
Yeah, we lost track after the death of my wife. I really severed our ties with them.
Yes.
Because I moved on. I have remarried. In fact, 5 months after the death of my wife, I met my second wife now. And,
I'm glad you were happy. But let me ask you some questions from social media. This is from Twitter at Rutgard. Why only now? You kind of answered this. Why haven't you revealed this before?
yeah, because there's no a compelling reason. I'm not really privy to what is the PDAP scam.
Mm-hmm.
What I can only relate is to their character.
Yes.
Yes.
There's some risk for you to come out and speak now, because certainly what we're seeing is the establishment or people she had dealt with aren't speaking. I mean, what is the risk for you in your mind when you did the calculation of whether to speak or not to speak? What did you think about?
I'm always like this. I mean, my advocacy is anti-corruption. So every time there is corruption, if I know something, I need to speak up. So I think that is the compelling reason, really, more than it's my passion for anti-corruption that's really pushing me to come out.
Can I throw another question to you from social media from @MarkBonnie? Will Colonel Querubin help the government to get Napoles to talk about the scam? And if so, how?
I really don't know, because we don't get in touch
With her.
with her. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And you basically just said what you knew. And in this
Yes.
part, what you knew already leads to insight into the
Yes,
way things
yes.
work. Glenda, do you have any questions? Would you, in terms of in your mind, when you spoke with Colonel Querubin, and it did show a lie
Yeah.
in her story, in her narrative. How important is this, and what's the next step?
Well, I think the next step would really be to also make the public officials who are involved in this scam accountable. It doesn't end or begin. It doesn't begin and end with Miss Napoles. But I'm actually personally curious about your memoirs, Colonel, because you're finishing it. Is it mostly about the coup years, or
no, there are so many untold stories.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, like for example, Edsa One. In so many, I think a dozen books written about Edsa One, only two made mention about what really ignited the EDSA revolution. It was the arrest of the 19 reformists inside a Marine camp, and I was the one who led the arrest.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that's the reason why that was February 23.
Yes.
So we started rounding up the RAM.
Wow.
And then what Senator Honasan was to go to Senator Enrile and inform him that they're to be arrested. So no, we all go to MND, hold the press conference, and then, well, the rest is history. So that was the start. If you remember that 19 reformists
Yes.
inside a Marine camp, this was confirmed by no less than Bobby Ongpin, because it was his security.
But
Yes.
you were the one to lead the arrest.
Yes,
so the sides in the Philippines, the good guys and the bad guys, very hard to understand who they are. How do you define it?
Well, your conscience really will dictate as to what side you'll go, because you should always follow your conscience. Do what is right.
Gosh,
Are you saying, though, that the first time that you met Captain Napoles was in 1989?
No.
Okay.
Earlier.
Was
Even
he
earlier.
involved? But was this his first involvement in a coup attempt?
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, he was assigned in Subic Command under General Tajar then. And a group of officers and men led by then Captain Saban came from
Yes.
Subic Command. And he was part of that.
Okay.
Yeah, he was part of that.
And in the Kevlar helmet case, he was accused. Was he intelligence?
Accused,
Yeah. Why? What was
He
his
was
role?
he was already intelligence officer of the Philippine Marine Corps.
I see. And as intelligence officer, you should know these things. Are you
Well-
not supposed to just monitor enemy
Well,
outside,
yeah,
not enemy
I
within?
really don't know
Yeah. Okay.
why he was involved there. He was involved because probably he was Major Napoles and the husband of Jenny.
Okay. Okay. How big an issue was the Kevlar helmet?
For us in the
scandal?
field,
Yes.
it was a big issue.
huge? Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, because especially in my case, I'm so close to my people, to my men, and at that time we were issued U.S. Kevlar helmets,
Okay.
and this one was a substandard Kevlar helmet that is Taiwanese made, Chinese made, and it didn't really pass the test. Yeah.
If you were, in a nutshell, to tell us the main insights of your book, and I know that's basically saying, what has your life been like? What is the main insight? What are the main lessons learned that you're writing about now?
I think I'm doing this just to go to the bottom of everything. I mean, there are so many untold stories that I need to inform the people, like, well, just part of it. Before that EDSA 1 revolution, I was also directed to arrest two opposition personalities. When martial law will be declared, I'll be arresting two personalities. I'll mention them. One is Chino Roses, and the other one is Joe Concepcion at that time. And after the EDSA revolution, I was told, "Oh, we didn't talk. We didn't because I was with intelligence unit at that time."
Even when you said that we didn't talk, the reversals of history, right?
Yes.
And also the tendency to protect friends who may have done wrong.
Yes,
How have we learned any lessons through the years?
That 89 revolution, for example, until now the hurts, the damage that it has caused to the armed forces is still there. Some classmates are talking to each other, senior officers giving, that the stigma is there. That's why I said we've learned our lessons. In 2006, there was a plan to mount a military exercise, and we opted to march instead. It was a peaceful march.
Yes,
We would have
correct.
opted a military uprising at that time,
Yes.
an armed uprising.
Yes.
But we opted just to march with the people. So it's really very hard for us to be
Yes.
fighting against each other.
This is a question it's a perfect question for you now, given that at Kataponerista 2H asks, Colonel Querubin, do you have faith that this government is better than the past one? Any suggestions for better national security?
Yeah, definitely. It's if you compare it with the past administration, it is much better. Not that I was released by the president or we were given amnesty by him, but we really have. In fact, in the armed forces now, they're slowly modernizing.
Yes.
That didn't happen in the past administration. So there, all the reforms that we've been wanting for before is slowly being done now. So I think that's related to the second question. You cannot be bullied
Yes.
if you have a strong armed forces.
Knowing what you know now, though, how difficult will it be for our society to deal openly with this pork barrel scam, which touches our top lawmakers?
The good thing that happened now is if you see, we're now open to speak about all these scams. Unlike before, there are more whistleblowers coming out. I think slowly we're going to that point where all lawmakers will become transparent.
I hope I share your optimism. Colonel Querubin, your last thoughts.
I always say that we should learn our lessons from this. This is a wake-up call for all of us, and then I share the frustrations of Cardinal Tagle. The magnitude of this scam really should not be thrown into just people should really be more concerned, be more vigilant. The fire should always be there, especially for you. When we were rendered irrelevant last time, it was the media who really took the cudgels for us. It was the media who kept the fire burning. And so our cause really wasn't, it didn't die. So now the ball is again in your hands. So I think you keep on exposing, I think in a healthy government, in a healthy institution, what you are doing is, I think, a welcome development.
Thank you. Without people like you, it's hard to do it. Glenda, your last thoughts.
Well, it shouldn't end with exposés and
Yes.
barely just exposing people's wrongdoing. Our institutions should be there and ready to actually finish this through. And doing two things. One, punish the guilty, and second, improve policy and make the processes more transparent.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We have been speaking with former Marine Colonel Ariel Querubin about his family's past dealings with the woman in the center of the pork barrel scam right now. She's nicknamed the Pork Barrel Queen, Janet Napoles. I was joined with Rappler's managing editor, Glenda Gloria. Thank you for watching Talk Thursday.